Welcome to our 2023 Arbor Day Tree Tour. This year, we chose a theme of finding magic in the ordinary, and Pool Park, located in Southern Pines, was the perfect place for us to share that topic with you. Each Arbor Day, we are reminded just how important trees are to us. When you really think about it, trees are almost like the parents of the ecosystem. They provide food and shelter for many animals, insects, and organisms. This is one of the many reasons why it is so important for us to help protect them. So follow along with us as we showcase some of the wonderful native trees that we have at Pool Park, located here in Southern Pines. This is a grove of red maples. Red maples are native to our region and often grow along streams and wet areas. In North Carolina, they can grow from coast to the mountains. These maples here at Pool Park were originally planted about 40 to 50 years ago. And just one red maple this size can produce more than 1 million seeds per year. You may have seen their seed pods before. They have two wing-like features which allow them to swirl down to the ground like helicopters when they fall. In the fall, these pretty star-like leaves turn from green to golden to orange to red. These leaves will fall off completely in the winter, and come springtime, they have red flower buds that pop out just before the new leaves start to regrow. Maples provide a lot of value for their surrounding habitat. They provide shade and safe harbor for the birds and squirrels. Their sap is sweet and often attract a variety of insects. Here you can see a small woodpecker called a yellow-bellied sapsucker has created little holes in the bark to drink some of the sap. Now, the maple tree releases sap to help protect from any sickness or disease getting into the holes. It's almost like a Band-Aid. This sap is very sweet, and it's a great food source for insects and birds like the yellow-bellied sapsucker. On this very same maple tree, we can see that the bark looks different from its brothers and sisters nearby. The bark here is covered in a black mold. Now, this mold doesn't hurt the tree, but it does cover up the bark, which means other small insects can no longer take refuge in the nooks and crannies. There are also some other signs of diseases here amongst the maples. When we look down towards the roots, we can see two issues at hand here. One is longmore disease, which you'll see at the base of the tree, where it looks like some of the roots have started to rot away. Additionally, there's a term called girdling roots, which is where the roots lift up all the way to the top of the soil, and they often get run over by lawnmowers and things like that, constantly exposing them to bacteria and disease. Now, the green stuff that you see on these trees is called lichen. Lichen tells us that the trees are nutrient deficient, specifically in nitrogen. I'm sure most of you have seen a tree that looks like this before. Do you know what it's called? We sure do have a lot of them around here. This is the longleaf pine. The longleaf pine is another native tree that is an evergreen, meaning it stays green all year round. This pine is also a conifer. Do you know what makes a tree a conifer? It has cones, thus conifer. The pine cones hold the seeds for new pine trees. The longleaf pines are very special to our area. The key characteristics of a longleaf pine include being very tall and skinny, with most of the branches towards the top of the tree. Their needles are also much longer than any other pine tree. They have large pine cones and platelet-like bark. Do you recognize this tree? You might, because this tree also grows our state flower. This is a dogwood tree. It looks a lot different from the other trees that we've seen so far. Dogwood trees tend to be short in height and multi-stemmed, making them great climbing trees. Look at the leaves. Like the maple, the dogwood also loses its leaves in the fall and winter. and the first thing to come back in the spring is very large white flowers. After these flowers bloom, the seed head then emerges from the tree. And by late summer, these seed heads will grow into red berries that many birds enjoy eating. Any berries that are not eaten may fall and actually become new dogwood trees. Have you ever seen this tree before? This is an American holly tree. Like our friend, the longleaf pine, the leaves on this tree stay green all year round, making it an evergreen. What do you notice that's different about these leaves compared to the maple and the dogwood? Have you ever been poked by a holly leaf? Typically, holly trees have very sharp spikes that grow out of their leaves, and this is part of the tree's way of trying to protect itself. Deer have a reputation of trying to eat almost anything that is green, and since holly leaves stay green even through the winter, deer like to turn them into a meal, spikes and all. The holly tree actually has a special gene that causes even more spikes to grow on each of the new leaves that come next in order to try and ward off the deer. In the spring, these hollies have clusters of little tiny white flowers that bloom. And these flowers are a huge food source for pollinators like bees and butterflies and moths. The relationship between flowering plants and insects is important. The insects get the food from the flowers, and while they get the food, they also ending up to pollinate them so that they can mature and produce fruit. Thanks to pollination, these same white flowers turn into berries. And on the holly tree, these red berries last all year long and are an important food source for wildlife, especially during the winter when food for birds and animals is scarce. Have you seen a tree that looks like this before? This tree is called a live oak. It has green leaves year-round, while other species of oak trees lose their leaves completely. Look at the shape of these live oaks. Do their many branches spread far and wide, kind of like a dogwood? Live oaks can live hundreds of years and have been growing on Earth for over 45 million years. The live oak has acorns that provide food for animals like deer and especially squirrels. Squirrels love to collect acorns and store them for the winter when it's harder to find food. The acorns are also live oak seeds. So sometimes when a squirrel buries acorns, if they forget to go back and eat it, that acorn can actually grow into another new live oak tree. The branches of the live oak are often home to other plants like moss, ferns, and lichens. The leaves provide food for moths and butterfly larvae. Birds and squirrels also love to build their nests in these trees, with their many branches and leaves that stay all year long provides them welcoming shade and protection. Over here, you'll see the 5 trees that we planted for Arbor Day. 3 of these are oak trees and 2 are elm trees. We planted them in a grove-like fashion, so as they get older and bigger, they will branch out and make a really great area of shade, especially during the hot summer months. We had to be very careful about which trees we chose to plant here because the soil at Pool Park is full of clay. Not many trees are able to grow in clay, but oaks and elms can. Thank you for joining us on our Arbor Day tree tour. We hope you learned a lot, and we really look forward to seeing you all in person next year.